Hello and welcome back to the next One Piece review and discussion. We are here with the next chapter release and we are getting a Straw Hat filled chapter. Well, mostly Straw Hat filled. There is someone missing and I want to discuss where they could be. So, without further ado, chapter 1176, with pride or with passion. So, no cover story, but we get a beautiful colour spread of all of these straw hats looking great as always. It's a callback to a old volume cover, I believe, and it just looks great in the run up now to the live action next week. I think is where the nod is going towards. But nevertheless, we are here in Elba to carry on. So, last we had left off, Robin was released from Summer's vines because of Sanji's heat. So the heat from his kicks managed to burn away the vines, and Jinbei was like, okay, so high temperatures is how we deal with that. Bit of a no-brainer. That makes sense. So they all kind of were gathering themselves back up and dealing with the Loki-sized dragon now flying around, and they were now aware that Luffy, being the loud character that he is, was aboard said dragon and was friendly. So they kind of got the understanding that the dragon was on their side. But we left the Straw Hats for the moment there, and we went over and saw what Loki was capable of. He obviously had just saved the children and the parents from when they fell down the hole that was created by Summer. And rightfully so, Summer was raging. He saw the kids were still there, and whether the bindings were still active or he rebound them, I wasn't quite sure. Nevertheless, the kids were still wrapped up in these brambles, and Summer had had enough. He had reared up his serpent-like turret vines and was ready to unleash a barrage of needles. And in that moment, Zorro swept in and deflected every single needle mid-flight and just protected every child, and it was beautiful. Luffy then comes in, supporting his vice captain here. Luffy flies in and deals a lightning-based Thor rifle attack that just disintegrates Summer. Like, it was brutal. We know he's not down. We know the Holy Knights especially have a very strong regenerative factor. He'll get back up, he'll recover, but it was a pretty big blow, especially from Luffy, sort of running wild as he is now. But when that had all sort of settled and the kids were then safe because Summer lost concentration of his devil fruit, the brambles are gone, we briefly jumped over to Gabon and Chopper, who were back over where I believe where they first kind of came up from the realm of the dead, and were watching Loki just destroy all of Killingham's nightmares that were running wild. And he went back to what Yarul had told him about that specific fruit. Now, the Nidhogger dragon is a North mythological dragon that sleeps or rests beneath the whale tree and is always up to no good and mischief. And it is a giant dragon that now is in the possession of Loki. And Ja Rule explains in the One Piece terms to Gabon and Shanks at the time that the true nature of this dragon is to become the biggest dragon in the world. But the most fearsome thing is it grows in proportion to the user. So it'll be pretty big if a regular human would have it. If a giant was to eat it, it would be a fairly big dragon. If an ancient bloodline giant was to consume it, the dragon would be at the biggest capacity it would reach, and it was told that that is where it would unlock its true potential. So someone like Harold or Loki were the only ones around to really wield it to its full potential. And they explained, how come no one just went for it? Like, what would have stopped another giant trying to eat the fruit? And he explained about Ragnia, but he actually explained the history of Ratatoskia, this little squirrel. It turned out that back during potentially the Void Century, maybe earlier, there was a god of war on Elbaf who actually wielded Ragnia, the hammer. And Ratatoskia was the squirrel companion who fought alongside him. And they clashed with the god of destruction, Nika, or, whoever this individual was at the time. And ultimately, they came to blows, and as time went on, the god of war perished. Ratatoskia survived and just absolutely destroyed and devastated by losing their friend. They bound themselves with the hammer, so now they are one entity, as it were. And they watched over the devil fruit that was reincarnated because the god of war had eaten that fruit as well. And it was said that they would watch it for generations, only allowing the person who was worthy enough to consume it, which being Loki. And we saw this giant thunder breath. And the final part of last chapter was watching a massive attack, watching all these nightmares just get destroyed, and Eam in possession of Gunko still, watching on and acknowledging the fruit and the dragon that he was, and knowing what had happened in the past, or at least had some recognition of the Nidhogger dragon. So we jump over to someone we haven't seen in some time. They had been missing, but we've now located them. We are back with Frankie at the tree with Lilith and Bonnie. And they're watching the chaos. It's like, wow, this is getting really loud now. Like, this is one party. And we can see Lilith is fiddling with the big box that they brought Vegapunk in. And it turns out there are other tools and useful scientific equipment inside. One being the Omni Drain Converters, or the ODCs. These are like spinning wheeled propellers that absorb energy and convert it. And Lilith poses to Frankie in the cleverest way possible. Frankie, you are a construction, you are a cyborg of brilliant design. Why the hell are you only using cola to power yourself? And Frankie takes a moment to question it as well, what Lilith is posing here. But it makes so much sense, because Lilith is saying right now on Elbaf, it is teeming with energy. Lilith can feel it. She's like, I'm pretty sure it's pretty good tech that we could use around here. We could probably use the hover tech. We could definitely use these to help us. There's so much energy on Elbaf. And she's like, why are you only using cola to power yourself? So as Frankie is left considering this, we go back to the rest of the Straw Hats, and they have just jumped into action. Everyone is rushing towards the school because they need to put the flames out. They need to deal with all these nightmares. They are a Yonko crew now, and they are showing their strength here. This is the chapter where each of the Straw Hats are now stepping up. Apart from Usopp, I don't know where Oda's going now. Usopp, every chapter he's appeared in now, is panicking. And I don't get it. I understand how he used to be. We had his time skip. We had him in very cool fights all the way up through Wano, where, he's fought very strong opponents and he's overcome so much. He's still part of the Scaredy Cat trio, I guess, but ultimately he is here now on Elbaf, the place where he was going for this whole time as a part of his journey, and he's just stood here panicking. And I'm uncertain as to what big revelation or character development we're going to get in Usopp now, because the longer this goes on, the less time in Elbaf we're going to get, the less Usopp's going to get a moment. And it certainly is going to be interesting, because I feel like he needs not like a split second and when he's snapped and he's now that brave warrior of the sea. There needs to be a bit more of a growth, because right now he's just panicking. He's not helping. Everyone is rushing to action. So right now, Nami summons Zeus and has already stored up and told Zeus to store up as much water as possible to use to put out the flames. Like the initiative, the thinking, the planning ahead. Nami is locked in now to make sure this school is saved. We can see Robin has rushed over to Saul, because obviously she's going to check to make sure Saul is okay, to make sure he's not too heavily injured. We can see everyone is taking charge of different things. The fire goes to be put out. We can see the rain. It's not enough. And then all of a sudden a giant nightmare appears and swallows Zeus, this lindworm nightmare. And Killingham appears and says, "Oh, pretty clever. I foresaw that you'd try and stop us, but you really should stick to what you said, that you would continue to let the school burn. History's not needed." And everyone's watching this happen, and it's like, okay, this is pretty bad. And then all of a sudden, Lilith throws out the ODCs, and it absorbs all of the fire instantaneously and freezes the entire area within seconds. And Killingham's like, great, what the hell's this? And we see that these ODCs return back to Lilith, and she uses it on a cola bottle to supercharge it. And she's like, right, there you go, Frankie, I've just gave you a power boost. And Frankie's like, what the hell? And he's like looking at his cola storage, and she's like, that one is a Super Vega cola. You see, I've just amped it up. So it's pretty impressive what you have. You are truly a magnificent design. But, you're on par with a Pacifista right now. But don't you think you could be that much stronger? You've ran yourself on cola. It's impressive. But look, your fuel is your passion. So stick that in you and you will explode. And we see that Frankie just gains this incredible level of energy, and he jumps into the air with this super move, whilst we see everyone is still panicked about, protecting the library. Can we make it there? Can we get safe now? Because the Lindworm is being ordered by Killingham to absolutely just destroy it, just to take it down and have enough. And we see that Jinbei is swimming in a stream nearby, ready to go and save Zeus. Everyone of the Straw Hats here now jumping in, and we see Killingham, typical celestial dragon, absolutely despises Jinbei because he's a fisherman. He's repulsive. I can't believe I'm in the same area as him. I'm glad I've brought my mask, the helmet he's wearing. And Sanji stood there smoking, being like, you don't understand what you've just done. He's like, that ideology is typical of a celestial dragon, and you know what? You should put more respect on the name Jinbei. He is not only a former warlord of the sea, but he is the helmsman of our crew. So you know what? I'm going to shatter that mask of yours, kick a precious hole in it. And we see big combo attack coming here. Frankie's now supercharged, strong punch. We see a Fishman karate move coming out from Jinbei. They both collide into the Lindworm to take it down. And we see an Ifrit Jonbei from Sanji to crush Killingham's head. And I mean literally heel to skull. Absolutely destroys the dude. Pretty impressive. I'm glad Sanji is getting more page time and really is being shown now in his full strength. But Straw Hats have done their thing. They've saved the school now, which was pretty good going on their part. We go back to the Western Village now to see the carnage that the demonic giant warriors are still causing. Zoro, Ja Rule, Hyrule, and Stanton are watching on and are like, this is awful. Like, the regeneration these guys have is just like a real pain. Like, how are we actually going to deal with this? And off to one side, Dory and Broggy are like regaining themselves. So after Zoro dodged out the way of their attacks and they attacked into each other, they're starting to regain their strength here, only briefly. And they're like looking at each other and they're like, are you with me, brother? Are you there? We are an utter disgrace. They're saying, like, how could we even utter those words against someone as great as the Elder? This would hang on our heads if we took his life for generations. And they're like, this is the only way to go, isn't it? And they both look at each other and just immediately cut off each other's heads. They were willing to kill themselves because they would not let these demons win. They are warriors of Elbaf, and there was nothing left but to die with pride. And everyone was like, holy shit. They were so strong to each other that they weren't going to let what was happening. And they were remembering their clash from years ago on Little Garden. The brotherhood between these two is unreal. And they fall to the ground and their entire body regenerates. But they have lost the demonic capabilities. And they are fully recovered. They are like, jump back to their feet. They are like, holy hell, like, not only are we back to normal, we are back to full fighting strength. And the final page is a double page spread of Stanzen, Dory, Hyrule and Broggy all stood together and Zoro amongst them. And they're all like, right, this is our plan. To break the demon's curse, we just have to kill them. It seems that we have to put them to a gruesome end and they will revert back to their original body at full working strength. So the big caveat now we've found in Eames' ability is, are you willing to kill the demonic invasion in front of you? And it restores them back to normal. So they're talking about, right, there's no need to hold back. This is how we do it. We just got to land fatal blow after fatal blow, and we just have to put it to work. So they're all rallying, and they're all looking at each other being like, oh, you know, it really breaks my heart. Like, you know, I've really got a pain in my chest. This is really hard. Like, I'm too reluctant to do it, but we've got to brace ourselves. We may feel bad now, but it's the only way forward. So we see the warriors square up to the giant pirates running them down, and it is beautiful. So that is where the chapter concludes. Now there is one person who is now still missing. Brook. I forgot to mention it last chapter, but when Loki was on his rampage and Eve through Gunko's eyes was watching on, Brook wasn't there. And we haven't seen Brook this chapter. We saw every Straw Hat. We know Luffy's with Loki, but Brook is now MIA. Did he run? Has he been incapacitated? How the hell did he manage to escape a Gunko possessed Eve? It's really going to be interesting to see where he's ended up, whether he's injured or he just decided to flee knowing he was too strong of a fight for him. But there's a lot riding now on Brook's entire sort of backstory link to Gunko, that something's definitely building there, and I'm curious to see where he is. So thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Let me know what you thought of this chapter, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.